What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Nemo Propaganda here, and today we're going to cover the LAiV audio micro DAC, and I'm going to explain to you why it's my new DAC, why it's my new reference, why it's replacing my Aries 2 that I've been using for 3 years, that I've loved and enjoyed for a very long time. And for those of you that are new here and may not know this about me, I don't upgrade my DAC like every year or every 6 months or every 3 months like some people do. When I find a DAC I like, I run it for a long time. I have owned the Aries 2 for 3 years. I have absolutely loved it. It's a fantastic DAC. I just found something better for not much more money. And today we're going to talk about it. So look, what I've got in front of us here are my 2 Aries DACs that I own. The silver one is the 12th one. That's still sold today. It's just called the 15th one now. Below it is my Aries 2. That's the black one. That's still sold today. It's just called the Enyo now. The Enyo is about $700. The silver one, which is now the 15th one, that's $1,200. They're both really, really good. These are all R2R DACs, just so we're clear. This one right here, this is the LAiV micro DAC. This one sells for $994, and underneath it, this is just their DDC. But this one right here, this is their full-size Harmony DAC. This one sells for $2,700. Now, I've already reviewed this one. I've already reviewed those two. So today we're going to talk about this one. Now, we're not going to do this review the same way we always do, where I tell you about the specs, the features, what it sounds like, how it compares to other products. This DAC has already been reviewed by a bunch of people. So I'm going to save everyone time. If you want to see the inputs, the outputs, and all those things that, go on each respective manufacturer's websites, whether it be Denafrips or LAiV Audio. Today, we're going to just jump right into the comparisons so you can understand why the LAiV micro DAC is replacing my Aries 2 and why perhaps I didn't go for the more expensive full-size Harmony, right? So let's jump into it. First, let me tell you what I love about my Aries 2 or my Aries 12-1. Those are both my DACs. I own both of them, right? And why I was able to use them for so many years and be happy. Well, the Aries 2 gave me a sound that was just really emotionally engaging. I was able to turn off my reviewer brain and just turn on my hobbyist brain, my, music lover brain, and just relax and enjoy and fall in love with my songs. The mid-range is a little bit warm. It's organic. It's very natural. It has good holographics. The high frequencies, not the most detailed in the world, but enough detail to satisfy me. Air, space, separation, soundstage, again, not the most, but it's a fairly inexpensive DAC. It was enough to satisfy me. Bass of the Aries, a little bit pumped up, a little bit juicy, not the most note-to-note distinction, but it was good, confident, full bass, and I really enjoyed it. The key takeaway here is what I loved most about the Aries, whether it's, my 12th or my Aries 2, is that mid-range. That little bit of warmth, that naturalness, that organic presentation, the holographics, the sound staging, that was really nice. And I loved it for 3 years. I was very satisfied, so much so that I didn't even really review other DACs because I didn't care about other DACs. Then I reviewed the full-size Harmony and I was like, whoa, this LAiV brand is doing something special. I really like what they're doing. But let me not get ahead of myself. So the micro. The micro does all the things the Aries 2 does in the mid-range, just as good. All the things I loved about the Aries, the micro DAC brings to the table. And then more. It gives me a larger soundstage. It gives me tremendously more air, space, and separation just between everything. It gives me a deeper soundstage. It gives me quite a bit more resolution in the high frequencies. Not so much that I would call it an analytical DAC by any means, but when you go back and forth between the micro DAC and the Aries 2 or the Aries 12, that's when you realize, wow, Aries does leave a good amount of resolution and detail on the table. Now, again, I'm not a detail first customer, but the amount of detail that the micro DAC was giving me was still pleasing. I did still value it, such that I did have a hard time going back to the Aries. The micro DAC also has bass that's a little bit more cleaned up, a little bit more high-end, if you will. The Aries bass is a little bit fun. It's a little bit juiced up. The micro DAC is a little bit more linear with its bass, a little bit tighter, a little bit more control. Now, why didn't I upgrade to the more expensive Harmony? The more expensive Harmony is technically better. Technically, it's the best DAC on this table, shall we call it. This isn't really a table. This is a subwoofer everything's sitting on. The full-size Harmony is the better DAC. But in all the areas that it's better, these are not the areas that are my number one priority. So I feel more comfortable spending my money on the micro DAC. The micro DAC has a top end that's a little bit smoother. The full-size Harmony has a top end that is quite a bit more resolute, especially in the leading edges. The attack of the Harmony DAC has the full-size Harmony DAC has quite a bit more resolution to it. And again, I already told you guys, while I do value resolution, resolution is not my number one priority. So the full-size Harmony does also give us more air, more space, more separation, even bigger soundstage. But the airspace and separation and soundstage I was getting from the micro DAC was more than enough in my small room. So that's the key takeaway here, right? So this is how I'll pitch it to you guys. If you own something like the Aries already, and you've been itching for an upgrade without spending double or triple, which is what you normally have to do when you're upgrading your DAC and you want to feel a big upgrade, the LAiV micro DAC is an opportunity to upgrade without really spending much more. Arguably somewhat less, because the 12th dash one is $1,200. The Enyo is $700. So, if you have the Enyo, you're going to spend a couple $100 more. If you have the 12th or the 15th, you're going to be spending a couple $100 less. Additionally, the micro DAC does have a remote control. It's not included, but you can buy it separately. For those of you that a remote control is very important to you. The micro DAC does also have a screen, of course. And one thing I love about both LAiV and Denafrip's products, neither of them are particularly complicated. Neither of these companies make DACs that have an endless amount of setup options and filter sets. No. You just choose, you want OS or NOS. You know what I mean? It's just kind of that simple, right? You pick your phase if you want to mess with that. There's not a ton to mess with here. There's not like 20, 30 filter sets. I love that. But yeah, so sorry, what I was trying to tell you is I already told you, what you can expect going from the Aries to the micro DAC. Who is the full-size Harmony for? The full-size Harmony is one for the guy that can afford it, and two for the guy that is looking for more resolution in the leading edges, the guy that wants the biggest sound stage, the guy that wants the most airspace and separation between everything. You're really shooting for that high-end experience as much as you can. You're not scared to spend money to get that. The full-size Harmony is definitely going to take you there and worth every penny. It's just, for me, I prefer the little one because it's just a little bit smoother in the high frequencies, and I'm willing to give up a little bit of resolution for a sound that is just a little bit more forgiving. The full-size Harmony is not going to be ripping apart recordings by any means, but I just like a little bit of a smoother presentation. I mean, hell, I've been using the Aries 2 for 3 years, which that's a pretty relaxed high-frequency region. You know what I mean? Anytime I've talked to someone who's returned the Aries and didn't like it, it was because the high-frequency region was too relaxed for their taste. You know what I mean? But I had no problem with it. I like a sound that is just easy in the high frequencies. So yeah, ultimately I'd be happy with any of these products, but I do have to pick one. And the one I'm picking is this little guy right here. I mean, it fits the bill for me so well. Look, that's pretty much the DDC. Let me talk to you about the DDC real quick. Some of you guys might wonder, hey, if I use the micro DAC with the DDC, does it like start to beat the full-size Harmony, or does it make it sound the same, this and that? No, it doesn't really work that way. When you connect the DDC to the micro DAC, yes, it does elevate the experience. There's no doubt about that. But it's not going to change its tonality such that it will identically match the full-size Harmony, right? And because likewise, you can also add a DDC to the full-size Harmony. You could add a DDC to one of the Denafrip's DACs. So I don't think talking about the DDC should be a big part of this review. But what I want to say is this. When you add the DDC to the micro DAC, yes, it does bring it closer to the full-size Harmony in terms of how large the sound stage is, how much air, space, and separation you're getting between everything, and those types of characteristics, that soundstage depth, the holographics, yes. But ultimately, even when using the micro DAC with the DDC, the full-size Harmony is still giving us more detail on its own. It is still giving us more resolution, especially in the leading edges of those high frequencies. So again, my recommendation remains, if you are the detail first customer, if you are looking for the DAC with the most resolution in this lineup, you definitely owe it to yourself to go for the full size harmony. Those of you that are willing to give up, you know, the ultimate resolution and clarity in the leading edges and like a smoother sound like myself, you're going to love the harmony, the micro DAC. And those of you that are like, hey, what about the Denafripp stuff? Does it still have a place? Yes, kind of. If in your region, the Denafripp stuff is significantly cheaper or there's a good used market and you're tight on cash, yes, guys, these Denafripp stacks are still very, very good. Many areas have been sold. If you can find one secondhand for say like $400 or something like that, by all means, jump on that if you're tight on cash. But if the price difference between a secondhand Aries and a new micro DAC isn't a big difference, I would definitely say go for the micro DAC. I think it just brings all the great things the Aries has been known for and just kind of elevates them a little bit in a nicer form factor, in a nicer enclosure, and things like that. So look, that's the review. If you have any questions, holler in the comments section. This YouTube channel does also have a free Discord server. Link is in the description of all my videos. And until next time, take care.